Peace and love, family. I wanted to turn this camera on to have a quick conversation that my ancestors been on me to have with you guys. And it's about we think we have time. I'm here in East Africa. I've been here for 2 years, spent my whole life in America, decided to leave that place and make my way back home to the motherland. And of course, as usual, I'm talking to a specific people out there, and you know who you are. Those who can feel me, understand me, and relate, then that's who I'm speaking with this message, that we think we have time. So I'm watching across seas, and I'm just, paying attention to what's all going on in America. And I'm observing how things aren't getting any better, right? Which was obviously the case as to why I left. Because I'm under no false pretense that things are going to somehow miraculously um, get better. There's a lot of us who really convinced ourselves that if we can just get that person who's currently in office out of office and replace him with another figurehead, that things will miraculously go back to some semblance of normalcy, despite the fact that there was never, ever anything normal about that society from the very beginning of its creation, that we've convinced ourselves that we can go back to being comfortable again. Well, that's not going to happen. That's clearly not going to happen. And so, what do you do? What do you do in a situation where you are wrapped into a society that is steadily spiraling downward? Do you hang around waiting for the next shoe to drop? Or do you take matters into your own hand and you take the reins of your own life and you do what you need to do to protect you and yours? That's really what it's come down to. It's not coming down to that, it's come down to that at this juncture. I think for so many of us, we want to change a pace. We want to remove ourselves from all the death and all the destruction, but fear stops us. Fear stops us, and I know that that is the case for so many because that used to be me. I was that one at a particular point in my life. And the fear will, in fact, prevent you from living a productive life if you don't have the courage enough to move through it, right? Because it's going to be there, it's going to always be there. But fear is a fickle emotion to where if you allow it to take control of your life, it will, right? But it's like any other emotion. If you conquer it, find yourself capable of moving through it, fear is only an illusion. We make it real by feeding it. It'll definitely stop us from living our best life. So what happens when you find yourself in that space, that's stuck in that space of wanting to do something different, but fear not allowing you to do it for whatever reason? Fear of not having enough money, fear of doing it alone, fear of leaving behind your loved ones, fear of the unknown, of where you're headed. All those are illusions. Illusions that causes us anxiety. And what happens is the more destructive the behavior patterns become in the West, the more our anxiety will flare up. And the more our anxiety flare up, the more damage caused to our mental health. Our mental health suffers due to our unwillingness to change. And then there's some of us who get into this habit of pretend. So we feel like we can live our lives out in pretend mode. That if we just block everything that's currently happening around us out and just focus on peace and love and serenity and things like that, that things will be okay. That's a false sense of reality. In my mind, that's living in a fictitious dreamland when you attempt to do that, because it's not real. It's not real. It's like closing your eyes and going into a fantasy world of bluebirds and flowers and all the beautiful things. In the physical world, everything around you is going into chaos. So the moment you open your eyes, your reality hits you smack dead in the face. So it's a pretend world that we put ourselves in. It's a make-believe world that we put our minds in. And that's, to me, that's not even healthy. That's not healthy living either, because it's not true. You're living in a false sense of reality. Everything in life has ebbs and flows, ups and downs. It's balance. That's the whole balance of the ma'at. The scales, you weigh in the scales, there's two sides of that scales. And there's always going to be two sides. And so if you think that you can just hang out on one side of the scale, it's tipped. The scale is going to be tipped, and there's no balance in that. So that's not healthy either. So again, my message is, we think we have time. And, it's just been on my mind, and I've been putting it off, but the ancestors has been, pushing me to share this information. And so I'm just obeying and being obedient. We think we have time, but even that runs out before the great calamity occurs, right? Every ruling, powerful empire that has ever existed on the planet has eventually come to an end. Right? This is how America took the rule, because there was the empire that preceded her collapsed and fell, right? There's always only one great empire to rise at any specific time, right? There's always it's the hierarchy in everything in life. We try to run from it. Oh, can't nobody tell me? I don't need no leader, and everything in nature has a pyramid, has a hierarchy. And so there's always one at the top that takes that role, that leadership role. And at the moment, America has that position, but she's falling. She's collapsing like every other nation on the planet has before her, right? This is not anything new. And so when we think we can hang on and cling on to this society that's clearly collapsing, that anybody, even a child, can see who pays close attention, can see what's happening, then where does that leave you and I in the process? We're not innocent bystanders, right? We have a role to play. Every last one of us have a role to play in civilization. And so what do? You just sit and stand around and wait for the bricks to fall on your head? Or do you take matters in your own hand and you do what needs to be done to preserve and protect your own life, right? These are choices that we have to make, right? Nobody's coming to save us. Again, I'm talking to a specific kind of people that's out there. Everybody is not going to understand or receive this message. I get that. I ain't even looking for that, right? I'm talking to those of you who who feel me and understand exactly where I'm coming from. You have a role to play in this, right? And so, what does that look like? There's no utopias on the planet, for sure, right? There's no place on the planet that is an oasis, right? That is a heaven on earth. Everywhere you go, you're going to have to step into a situation where that needs improvement, right? In one way, shape, or form. Some need more improvement than others, and some have a well-oiled run machine in some instances, and others they don't. So it just depends on where you fit in, right? You get in where you fit in, and you take the necessary steps to help progress the society into being what you need it to be. I've been taught since a little girl that there are safety zones on the planet, right? And when that time occurs where it's time to get out of Dodge, you need to find the safety zone. I've been taught that since I was a little girl. And so for me, my ancestors guided me to East Africa. That's for me, right? So we all have our own walk and our own specific paths to take. But one thing's for sure, and two is for certain, we're coming dangerously close to having to get out of Dodge, right? Things in that American society is not getting better. It's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better. And it's a whole lot of danger. The danger signs and the warning signs are flashing off all over the place. My recommendation would be to map out a plan, okay? Because we've always had warners. There's always messengers that are upon us to give us the signs, the warning signs, the goodness of the Creator we serve, that he, she, him, her, however you want to describe, never leaves us stranded without a lifeline, without an anchor. And so those warners among us are those people who are here to help guide us and lead us out of danger into safety. So a mapped out plan is vital in this day and age. To take an idea that you have stirring around in your head and actually put it down on paper, right? That's step one. There's something very magical and mystical about the written word in particular, because I spoke on this before. When you're thinking about it, it's just that. It's just a thought. It's in the ethers. It's out there, right? In the atmosphere, the thought. But once you write that thought down on paper, it becomes, you bring it into this realm, this earthly realm, the reality realm, right? And now it's concrete, it's written, it's something, tangible, physical, that you can hold, touch, taste, see, feel, right? So there's something about the writing down of your goals that makes it mystical and magical and makes it that much more concrete, right? And then it helps you to bring them goals into fruition because now they're here. So the universe can now assist you in getting them goals accomplished. So map out your life plan. What do you want for yourself? Where do you want to see yourself? How long of a time do you need to do that? What it's going to look like. And sometimes you don't even have to see the end result and how you're going to do it and how it's all figured out. That's where our guides, our spirit guides, come in and go to work on your behalf, right? If you're worthy and you're righteous and you ain't causing no harm out here in the planet and you looking to do good for yourself and others, then you have spirit guides that's going to assist you and aid you. You have to know that, right? And so you don't even have to necessarily see every step of the way, right? You just got to know where you want to be. You know you don't want to be there when you want to be here. And where is that? Write that down. Where do you want to be? When do you want to get there? In what time frame? Write that down, right? What is it going to look like when you get there? What do you want to accomplish once you reach that mission of getting to that place? Write that down. Just write down your goals. It doesn't have to be um, analytical and art, all the gory details of the plan. Just write down the end goal and how you want to see yourself in another year or 2 or 3 or what have you, whatever you decide. But keep in mind, we think we have time. Your life has purpose. All of our lives have purpose. And you don't want to live out the rest of your life in regret. You coulda, shoulda, woulda, you wish you had this and that. And then when things really start going from bad to severely worse, you had an opportunity to move and make a new life for yourself, but you chose fear instead. You don't want to live your life like that, because that kind of life is filled with regret. And you also don't want to accept a mediocre life full of hell, which is where that society is headed. You don't want to accept that for yourself either. If you love yourself enough, you respect yourself enough, if you value life enough, then you got to take some necessary steps to move in the direction of that, of love and respect, value. Let me suggest that you pay a visit to the place that you have in mind that you may want to relocate to. If you have a specific place in mind that's been on your mind and you've been thinking about it, go. Take some time, spend some time, go explore that area. And because things like that will help you get one step closer to the end goal, right? Go. Take a week, take 2 weeks, take however time you need to go to that place and explore. One thing you will probably be surprised about is to find a lot of people just like you who made it there before you that had the same thought in mind, right? And you get there and you stumble across all these people who got out before you and are able to then guide you along the way into pulling you into that fray, that new fray. That's usually how it goes. Allow the ancestral realm, allow the spirits and the angels to guide you, and they will, right? If you're open to it, they will guide you, and they don't steer you wrong, especially if you are of good nature. If you are of good nature, then you really don't have anything to worry about, really. You worry in vain, which is nothing but fear, right? Because, when you do good by people, you receive those kind of blessings, but you got to be open to receiving them. So allow the universe to guide you into a better life. I'm here on the ground in Tanzania, East Africa, and this is home for me. It's no utopia. It's not a perfect place, but it's far better than the place I left in so many ways, right? I feel at home. I'm at peace. I can let my guards down. A lot of the things that get us all worked up in the West, we don't even have to contend with here, so that it calms your emotional state. My emotional well-being is better. I'm eating healthier. There's community here, right? So I'm not alone. So there's a lot of benefits to being here. So if East Africa or Tanzania in particular is on your radar, reach out. We are here. It's not just me. It's a family. It's a community of us who are here on the ground, and it's a lot of work to do. It's a lot of work to be done, of course, but it's well worth it. I know that one of my purposes for being on this planet right now in this day and time is to come here and help and aid and assist in preparing the table for those who are coming behind me, right? Just like those who were here before me did for me. And so, because I see the writing on the wall, right? I see the vision. Nobody knows the final hour. Nobody can predict the future. I wouldn't even dare, right? But when you understand past and you understand history, you can pretty much calculate what's happening in the future. And if you got two eyes, let alone three, if you only two eyes, you can see what's going on the planet. But with three eyes, you see with a whole lot more clarity, right? And so we think we have time when in fact it's time to go. It's time to come up out of that society because the walls are falling, the walls are collapsing, and the bricks and the mortar and they're chipping away, and bricks are starting to fall and collapse, and eventually it's going to all topple over, and you don't want to be in the rubble when that happens, right? You don't want to be nowhere near. So that's my message for you this evening. I hope you receive it in love and peace and in understanding. I'm here for support. If you need me, just reach out. Take care of each other out there, family. Peace.